Well, it was a special grand jury that convened to hear this case against Harrington, that is, pardon me. Our legal analyst, Jeff Hosford, is joining us now to talk about the role of a grand jury. And Jeff, we appreciate your being here today.
How are you doing today?
All right, we're not going to talk about the specifics of this case because we don't know all the information, but in the case where a special grand jury is called, why would this happen, and what's the role of a special grand jury?
Well, obviously a special grand jury is a jury that's called for a specific fact or a specific issue. In this situation, it obviously was called because this case was brought upon the DA and the county. The DA chose to bring this case up sooner than later, so they called a special grand jury or a special setting of the grand jury. The grand jury then heard the evidence and decided that there was enough evidence to indict the person. At that point, it is then they're served the indictment and they go forward. The grand jury process is used in every indictment. The only difference here is it was probably not a normal term for the grand jury.
In grand jury cases, we know there's evidence presented. Is there testimony usually that happens during a grand jury?
It can vary. Sometimes it's testimony from the investigating officers. Sometimes it's testimony from individuals. The defendant normally doesn't get to put on proof. They do have the option of asking the DA to allow them to submit a statement, but that is not usually done. Most of the time the grand jury meets without the defense's input or direction. So it's just the prosecution putting on their case and what is probably the best light for their case, and then the grand jury decides if that is sufficient to indict them.
All right, as always, we appreciate your perspective. If you have a legal question for Jeff, you can send it to us at legalline@wcbi.com. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for having me.